Your perception is literally killing your progress. And we're going to talk about why. What's going on with you guys? My name is ABWAY, and I try to help your life by giving you guys mine. And today we're going to talk about perception. You know, the thing about perception is that people don't really understand how much impact it has on your life. And people seem to ignore the fact that it is such a key component to living a successful life. You know, it's crazy because I've seen so many people who just go around and they live their lives without even trying to even stopping. Like they don't even stop to consider how their perception affects things. For example, you have a guy, right? You know, he moses around, he does whatever he wants to do. And he has a situation with this girl. Now, normally when we have situations with girls, you know, guys, they look at it, you know, one of two ways. You can either see it as a good experience or you can see it as a bad experience. And most of the time, guys decide that it's bad. I don't understand it because the perception is literally slaughtering what they're trying to accomplish in life. There's no way that every single guy on planet Earth has had a negative experience with the girls. But yet you see all these guys on Twitter and stuff talking about some, oh, you know, forget these girls, like all girls are the same. Oh, shut up, bro. Just stop, bro. Stop, please. I'm just trying to tell you that perception is such a big thing. And if you were to just alter your perception in a short period of time, in any given moment, and be able to have the control over your emotions to be able to pull that off, your life will immediately get better. I'm telling you, like exponentially will get better. So what have I learned that I can give to you guys in terms of perception? Well, I've been through my own shared trauma. You know, everybody goes through their own type of things, but it's more of a matter of being able to have control over the moment. You know, perception is all about being able to control the moment. If you can't control the moment, then you lose sight of anything. You can't really focus on much, and it doesn't really help you in the long run. So what I try to do, or at least, what I try to do is I try to make sure that I gauge my thinking towards something called, what I like to call, the perception equation. Now, if anybody else has come up with this, kudos to them, because I kid you not, guys, I have had no prior research in terms of whether or not somebody else has made this up. But I made it up in my head, so I'm gonna give it to you guys, because why not? I was having a discourse with one of my friends, and we had this huge deep talk, and I came up with this concept, which is very basic in its nature, but I feel like people need to utilize it more. I call it the perception equation, where basically you have perception plus reality equals your outlook on life or how you live. Again, there's probably somebody else, hundreds, thousands of other people who have come up with this, but you're here now, okay? All right, you're watching this now. So to all the people who have come up with this idea, kudos to you guys. I've never met you guys before, and I'm swearing that this is original, at least in my head. Maybe it's gonna help somebody. But the point is, looking at this, you have this equation. There is only one variable in the entire equation that will not change, and obviously that's reality. Regardless of how you spin it, reality will always be the same. There's gonna be no situation that changes. There's no spin on the situation that you can add. Reality will be reality regardless of how you perceive it. This dog is over here like just going crazy right now. Clyde, you okay? He's okay. But anyway, when looking at this situation of reality, you have the absolute. Reality is an absolute that we can't ignore. But the perspective is the only changing variable in this equation. Now, when we're looking at this equation, we understand that, okay, here we go. I'm gonna have my perception. I'm gonna try to adjust it. And we try to do it in ways that is not good for us. You know, we immediately gear towards perceptions that are absolutely toxic. And since perception is the changing variable in this equation, it's actually really bad because some people will tend to have a negative perception and they will run with whatever narrative that they have. And that's not good. So what's my advice? Well, when I look at it from this kind of standpoint, and I'm pretty sure that you can resonate with this, it's a matter of having a rock solid foundation and knowing who you are as a person. If you don't know who you are, your perception will always be swayed. And since this is the changing variable in the equation, well, it's gonna screw you over a lot. So as we look at this situation, we have a guy, let's call him Steve, all right? Steve has just gone through a certain experience. It doesn't have to be traumatic. It could be minor, a form of microaggression, whatever it is. Steve basically is walking through life and he just had this experience. Let's just say, for example, basic, Steve's girlfriend just broke up with him. Now, Steve's perception initially would probably be to be angry and upset, which is completely natural, and it's okay to feel those emotions. But what happens is Steve's perception of the whole situation eradicates his logical thinking. Here's the reality of the situation. The girlfriend was abusive, she cheated on him, mistreated him, and then in the end, he had to break up with her and the relationship ended. And that was pretty unfortunate for Steve. Well, Steve, in his toxic perception, can look at the situation and go, oh, but I miss this girl, I love her, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do without her. No, Steve, no. That's not what we do, Steve. Steve, I know you're out there, Steve. Stop being you. Stop. For crying out loud. I say that because I was a Steve, so I understand. But anyway, it's one of those things where you have to really put together in your mind how you're gonna approach the next steps. Now, Steve, he takes the toxic route and he gets depressed and, he eats junk food and he just gets involved in video games and he's completely mindless and he's not thinking straight. And Steve just decides to start acting like an idiot. Don't be like Steve. Instead, what you want to do is change the one variable in the equation that can really change. Because the perception is what will be your outcome. If you can't really sit down and understand within yourself that, wow, I need to change, or wow, I need to change my perception, well, then it's not going to go well for you. And I can already hear you saying, oh, well, ABWAY, I mean, you seem to have everything all together. Like, you seem to know what you're doing. So how does one adjust their perception? Like, since you're the great know-it-all, since you know all things, and you're a sage, and you're like, bro, please stop. Like, I'm going to give it to you, okay? I'm going to give you the advice. The advice I would have is to stay present, be in the moment, and understand what you're dealing with, and understand who you are. If you can't figure that out, you're not gonna do well trying to alter your perception. The greatest people who are able to keep control of their emotions understand that they have control over the one thing that they can control, and that's how they view a certain situation. So, a piece of advice in terms of something that you want to take with you, one thing that I personally do is, like I said before, I analyze the situation, but I also try my best to not worry about past or future possibility, what's outside of what's actually happening. Because what we tend to do is, with our perception, we start to formulate a whole bunch of these narratives and we start to formulate more and more ideals surrounding the reality. When something happens to us, we sit there and we allow our brains to fester and create faux scenarios. All these fake scenarios are coming out of nowhere from this one event. Because, I almost hit my mic off. All these fake scenarios are stemming from this one event and we are just allowing our brain to run with it. We don't sit down and just deal with the reality of what's happening. And unfortunately, it kills. It's a slaughterhouse and it's bad that we have to deal with this in our society. The best advice that I could give you right now is that whenever you have another traumatic experience, and yes, I'm speaking to you, whoever's watching, whoever this touches, I have no idea. The next time that you come into experience with a situation, just remember the perception equation. Your perception multiplied by the reality is really going to be how you live your life. Now, there are other factors, but the way I look at it is, if you have a condition, a mental condition, if you have a physical condition, I view those things as one. So the number one in any math equation, in a basic math equation, is standard algebra, 1 multiplied by any number, by any digit, that digit or number equals itself. I believe that any of the external issues we face in life are one. They're obviously more and more to add to the equation, but they're all ones. They don't change inevitably the eventual outcome. Yes, there are obviously some things that will be a 2 or a 3 that are out of your control, but the perception equation is all about understanding the things that are in your control. So everything that comes through the perception equation is a 1. And all it does is when you multiply 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, multiplied by the rest of the equation that we have, well, what you have there is still the same answer in terms of how your outlook is going to be on life. So what I want you guys to take from this video is just understand that you have so much power in your perception and you have so much control over what you can do. I'm just here trying to provide value, and if I'm not, you can let me know. Peace.